Hey there and welcome back to another Demon Slayer video. And we're still catching up on the episodes that I missed out on because I was sick and I couldn't really record anything. But yeah, since I'm feeling a bit better now, I figured it would be time to take a look at episode 2, Yoriichi Type 0, which picks up from where we left off last episode, with the Mist Hashira bullying some little kid who was standing in front of what appeared to be either the rank 1 demon or that ancient swordsman from Tanjiro's dreams. And now obviously, it was neither one of those people. But that's clearly what episode 1 wanted you to think. And yeah, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So, we start off the episode with our cold open, which continues to show the argument between the Hashira and the kid, with Tanjiro standing by quite unsure as to what to do. He doesn't want to eavesdrop as he thinks that would be kind of rude, but he also wants to play the role of peacemaker because, he can't help it. It's just who he is. And yeah, this scene, very relatable. I feel like most people would feel this way. You see an older kid arguing with a much younger kid, and you can't help but feel weird listening in on them, but also you want to hover around in case you have to intervene somehow. So yeah, I very much felt this scene. And of course, since this is anime land, the little kid then immediately gets KO'd out of nowhere from a chop to the neck, with the Hashira then trying to steal the key to the battle bot from him. And of course, Tanjiro, being a good and reasonable person, is not exactly thrilled at seeing a little kid beaten up for no reason at all, and so he tries to intervene, but yeah, this dude, despite being very weedy compared to Tanjiro, doesn't even move a muscle. Not even when he tries to actively separate him from the kid. Doesn't even budge. And so, yeah, is this breathing techniques? Do these techniques just passively turn your bones into titanium or something? It's honestly insane. Tanjiro then gets walloped too, and the dude tries to open Nezuko's box, but Tanjiro then finally gets mad and slaps his hand away, and we head into the intro. And yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to feel this way about the character at this point, but kinda hate this guy. Slapping around my boy Tanjiro, bullying some random kid, talking mad shit, trying to actively murder Nezuko by exposing her to the sun. Not exactly a great first impression, and it's made worse when he quite coldly tells the kid that he'd never hold up under torture, he calls him an idiot for thinking something like that, and then tells him that he's a nothing person, a craftsman, who's worth much less than a Hashira, and always will be, and thus, since a Hashira saved so many people, he should have free reign to train with this combat doll. So yeah, major asshole. And quite humorously, Tanjiro agrees for once. Dude has no tact, or seemingly any social skills at all. And despite the fact that Tanjiro agrees that the job of the Hashira is very important, he still takes umbrage at the fact that the role of the swordsmith is being diminished by this dude. And honestly, if there are many other Hashira that think this way about the swordsmiths, no wonder Tanjiro's swordmaker was driven to madness. Imagine making the only weapon that can kill these superpowered demons, and being forced to live in isolation in this random village so they don't come and kill you, and then having the wielder of these swords be completely ungrateful at every turn. We know Tanjiro's a good kid, but a lot of the other slayers we've met are at minimum a bit self-centered, and at worst they're major assholes like this guy. I know this arc's likely going to make me come to like him, but for now, screw him. And then, instead of actually listening to Tanjiro speak to him and try to convince him not to steal this, he just straight up knocks him out. No questions asked. Power scaling on this show is confusing sometimes. Here, Tanjiro's knocked out by a chop in one shot by this guy. And yet, he was still able to stay conscious through tremendous physical agony when fighting in the Entertainment District arc. Anyway, the kid then wakes him up and thanks him for his help, even though the dude took the key and the doll and then just left. Which is made even worse by the fact that the kid then explains that this is a one-of-a-kind doll. The best that's ever been made. It's based on a once-in-a-millennium swordsman who's more powerful than anybody else before or since. It's capable of over 100 moves and somehow, despite being a clockwork machine, is able to register who its opponent is, where it is, and how to fight using varied moves. It's the type of thing that really does belong in a museum, not in a training yard. I too would be pissed off if somebody beat me up and stole my priceless relic. Especially since, apparently, the kid doesn't know how to fix it. It's lost knowledge. 300 years old, and this village still doesn't have the technology to replicate it. So, yeah, dude's coming across as very hateable more and more. But I guess it is balanced out by the fact that he's clearly a badass. And isn't that always the way of things? Anyway, speaking of hateable characters, we then meet the dude's crow, who's just the worst. Arrogant, rude, annoying, not very funny. Just the worst. Screw this crow. Although Tanjiro for some reason seems to care what she thinks, as he gets depressed when she attacks him for daring to say that her Hashira was not using sun breathing, and then again when she laughs at him and calls him names for thinking that he had a dream about the warrior the robot's based on. Although the kid, Kotetsu, tells him that it's actually probably an inherited memory, because that's apparently a thing. The robot then starts to break down, Kotetsu runs away and cries, and I too would also cry at a family relic being obliterated by somebody who bullied me verbally and physically. And so Tanjiro tries to comfort him and tell him that one day, maybe he'll learn the skills he needs to fix it. Yep, in 300 years nobody's come close to trying to replicate it despite it being right there to look at. But don't worry kid, maybe you can do it, even though the robot's probably going to be broken. And then he tells him that even if it isn't him that fixes it, maybe his children or his grandchildren will be able to get it done, which honestly for me would not be a comforting thought. Oh, don't worry, you'll be dead, but someone will fix it one day. You won't get to see it though. But it all seems to work out pretty well here through the power of inspirational speech. And honestly, I wish I had people around to deliver epic inspirational speeches when I need them most. But even more than that, I feel like Kotetsu gets even more inspired, not by Tanjiro, but just by the casual disrespect shown by the Hashira, who chops off one of the arms of the dolls and then steals one of the swords outright. And really all this does is inspire the kid to not only eventually be able to fix the doll if it does break completely, but instills a desire in him to completely and utterly see the Mist Guy get humbled. To see Tanjiro hand this dude his own ass. And so he decides that he and the doll are going to train Tanjiro to do just that. I loved the delicious anticlimax of this whole scene. The rain's pouring, feels like the kid's going to break down and have this massive emotional moment, only for him to instantly decide that instead, the two of them are going to use this once-in-a-lifetime training device to pursue a petty grudge. I really do love it when the show subverts these tropes and expectations like that. It was quite funny. From here, we have perhaps the best training montage of all time, where this little dude, who has no idea how to properly train a swordsman, puts Tanjiro through his paces, not letting him eat or sleep or drink, with the only water he gets being from the occasional rainstorm, so pretty much the little dude's an insane taskmaster. Really did love this whole sequence. It's a fun palate cleanser, I guess, to get you nice and ready for the carnage that's sure to follow in the next couple of episodes, if the previous arcs have been any indication. This is the calm before the storm episode, and it gives a reason for Tanjiro to get stronger and have that on screen, but in a non-boring way. Pepper it with lots of jokes. And I liked it, especially the little kid fantasizing about telling Tokido to kill himself. Jesus. And then on top of that, the sequence where Tanjiro starts to pass away into the afterlife. Oh, I mean, this episode's just been filled with such random yet excellent jokes. This is how to do a training episode. And then on top of that, they even use that joke where he dies, of him having the vision of the afterlife, to further develop his skills and lead into him being able to defeat the doll. First by simply striking the doll, which earns him food and tea, which in turn increases his strength and allows him to break it through the techniques that he's learned. And this in turn reveals an ancient sword within, likely the sword of the original dude. And yeah, I'm not really sure that being starved is the best way to become an ultra-powerful swordsman, but it worked here. And so that's really where we end the episode. And yeah, the episode didn't really show anything. Didn't really show much at all, really. Just introduced us to some characters and had a training montage. Not really any plot progression, and yet it was so much fun. It didn't feel like a waste of time. There was lots of good humor and a lot of personality from Tanjiro, who's really stood out these first couple of episodes. And I think he's really benefiting from being away from his usual crew. It's allowing his character to evolve and become a lot funnier. And so yeah, not really much else to say other than that. Still trying to catch up, so bear with me. And so with all that being said, that's the end of the video, end of the review, and these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the episode? Do you like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.